I'm Jake Zemla here at Elden Instruments, and with me in the showroom today I have Elden Kelly. How you doing?
Great, how you doing?
Very good, man. So you have some history with the store, and why don't you give us a little bit of insight as to your relationship and your history here at Elden Instruments?
We go way back. I first started working here, what was it, like 2011?
Okay.
Maybe, for like 2 or 3 years in the showroom.
Yeah.
And then I started teaching lessons, and we started doing these workshops, like music theory workshops, jazz workshops,
Yeah.
and it sort of like took off. And I was kind of like, okay, this is cool. I had done some teaching before, but it wasn't to that level, and I realized, like, yeah, this is something I have a knack for.
Yeah.
And people were hungry for it. You know,
That's awesome.
I was kind of like, okay, you want to learn about music theory? That's fine. I got a master's degree in music, so I was like, I know how to do this stuff. But I think making it accessible to people is not as clear cut. Not just a jazz player, but someone who's like going to be playing rock or blues, and like, how am I going to use music theory? So
Yeah.
that's where I started kind of working with students here. And yeah, after that, I've just been kind of gigging and teaching.
News is out that you were moving to Memphis, is that correct?
So my wife is a musician as well, and she's playing with the Memphis Symphony now, so we're moving
That's
there.
awesome.
And,
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, after almost 15 years here, beginning a new chapter.
Are you having any kind of going away type of deal, or any events that are left before you leave?
Yeah, so July 9th, Sunday, July 9th at the Turner Dodge House, right over here.
Yep.
At 2 p.m. I'm having a CD release show and farewell concert, so you should definitely come check that out.
CD release, so a new album. Anything you can tell us about that?
The CD was something I just recorded in early June. It was a live concert I did at Troubadour Recording in Lansing.
Yeah, I love Corey. I love the place.
It was like a house concert. It's like 35 people
Awesome.
in the studio. It was just a solo show. I played guitar, I sang, I put a little piano. And just, it was a retrospective of kind of like the singer-songwriter side, the solo fingerstyle side, and some of the esoteric stuff, kind of all in one show.
Yeah.
I wanted to do like a live show and not like an overdubbed layer thing. Because you go to a live show, a solo show, and you get the album a lot of times, and it's got like a string orchestra, and like, it's like, this is awesome, but also, I just want what I just saw.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have something that was a document of what I do solo.
That's a cool concept that, you know, that kind of live take, which is the only way it was done, you know, is out of sheer convenience is happening less and less. You know, it's kind of a cool thing to be able to just commit to that and just say, hey, this is what it was, here you go.
Improvisation is a pretty big part of what I do, even when it's not in a jazz genre, just the process of each performance being unique. So for me, the live experience is kind of important because each show is really a
authentic,
in the moment, authentic experience. So.
What other projects do you have going on that you're a part of?
Cool. So I have a couple bands that I'm part of. Recently I was in LA, and this band that we had there, we did a show at NAMM, and we also did a show, like a private house show before that. This is with Corey Pesaturo, who's a jazz accordion virtuoso. He's a buddy of mine from back in my Boston days. Music school there, so I've known him a while. So he and I kind of got together some of our favorite musicians. We wanted like this all-star band concept. So we asked Sarah Drums, Sarah Thoyer.
Amazing.
You know, on Instagram as Sarah Drums. And this mandolin player, Ava Scow, who's in LA, who's just, if you're a mandolin player watching this, you probably know who she is. Unbelievable musician. We had these two young guys that Corey's kind of mentoring, Joseph Alcampora, the bass player at Berkeley, and Cameron Shave, this trumpet player who Wynton Marsalis was blown away by. So like unbelievable, these young guys, prodigy guys come in. So it was a really fun band. Did these 2 nights, and I'll be back there again to work with Corey and Ava.
That's awesome.
On more like acoustic trio stuff.
Yeah.
I have another group with some guys in Ann Arbor here. Dave Sharp Worlds Quartet.
Okay.
It has Igor Huat, who's actually living in Lansing here. He's a oud player. And we have Henrik Karpatyan, Armenian fiddle virtuoso.
Oh, that's crazy.
And Mike List, world percussionist, Dave Sharp on bass and synth. And we're going to Switzerland next week, actually. On Monday, I'm leaving.
That's exciting.
Yep, we're playing Jazz Ascona in Switzerland. So I'll be back to play with them even when I move away.
Yeah.
So it's like a jazz world fusion group. I play with some other groups here. Musique Noire, all-female string group in Detroit.
Okay.
And then when I'm not playing with groups, I play solo, either by myself or with a bass player and drummer. These instruments I just found because I needed something to amplify, acoustically and not have it feedback.
Yeah.
And I remember when I grew up in Vermont, and the guys at the music store there in Burlington, they called me up, they're like, man, we got this thing in, it's called a Glissentar by Godin. It's like an electric oud on a guitar body. You gotta come get it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. So it came like nylon string. Not a double, it was like nylon string.
Yeah.
And I played it that way for a while, which was pretty cool, but I got into sarod, which is this Indian fretless steel string instrument with a metal neck.
Okay.
And you play it kind of with your fingernail, like
okay.
kind of use it as a slide without the nail. It's still pretty sustainy, but you don't quite have as much bite.
Yeah.
And so I started using sarod technique when I was studying Indian music in undergrad. And I put steel strings on it, and I just tuned it really low. So this is A below E, baritone. So everything is lower tension, A, D, A, D, A, D. And then we have doubled courses of the single string, so it's a little less tension.
Okay.
So I put the steel strings, these are flat wounds. You're not supposed to put steel strings on a nylon string guitar. Don't try this at home. But I put this lower tension, and it was fine. And actually, Steve just reclued the bridge. It was lifting slightly.
Whoops.
Now it's good for prime time. But,
that's right.
So I love this instrument. It's great, and I would play it, and I would switch between these. It just got too much to be like, I want to suddenly switch. I had this other one on a stand. It was too much. This is amazing, but you're kind of stuck in this mode.
Yeah.
And it's cool for a while, but I wanted more diversity. So I love this instrument, but live, I needed a solution where I could really quickly switch, not have to bring multiple instruments.
Yeah.
And so this instrument that I have here is a nylon string guitar, because I like playing fingerstyle. And this neck that I had put on by this guy in Toronto, link in the comments, this is a switchable fretless neck. He's been this is a patented design. He's been making basses for over 15 years, and he just kind of started making guitars. I I think sort of with my encouragement, he's been making some more guitars. I mean, it's not my idea, but I'm endorsing it and I'm encouraging.
You're like, hey man, I could really use this, so you should continue.
It's got a couple electrics and stuff. So the idea is you flip. There's a mechanism in here that's kind of like window blinds, basically, like a rod here. And when you flip this, they turn. So there's a side of the fret that is flat.
Oh.
Right, so it turns and they rotate to expose the flat side, which is flush
genius.
with the board. Yeah, dude. So, I mean... So the cool thing is you can be like holding a chord.
Give it the little finishing touch to it, the little Salt Bay of tone feel at the end.
So this is sort of part of my vision of changing kind of making the guitar like this really expansive palette of sounds.
Right, that I've never seen anything like that, and
I mean, you've probably seen fretless guitar occasionally. But
well, yeah, for sure.
This to me seems like cool because it's like a color you can employ.
Yes.
When you're with the fretless guitar,
you're stuck, like you said. You're stuck with that
like,
tonally.
First of all, it's like, okay, wow. I think having the fret lines is important, and a lot of fretless bass players even prefer having the fret lines. Not like you still have to use your ear, but it's like you need to be right on the fret. Yeah. When you play slide, you have frets too.
Yep.
So with this thing, I mean, it can be Middle Eastern microtones if you want, or blues microtones, like blues really gets greasy with those microtones. You need those microtones to make it sound like. And you can do that with bends, but something about sliding.
Yeah.
It's more like slide. So yeah, it can be like Derek Trucks. It can be like Indian sitar, and all these vocal styles you can kind of imitate. But then,
blink of an eye.
I need chords. I need harmony. So for me, this was like a dream come true. And I really pursued it. It took years of working.
For sure. And it's smooth, and it's that's the cool thing.
Obviously, bass players, you need this.
Yeah. Well, and with your kind of approach, using that classical and the jazz, traditional approach, but also using but also having like the tech on your side of stuff. I'm really excited to see what you come up with it too, because like it's that's uncharted territory with that, especially the hybrid stuff, being able to fret a chord and then finish it, give it the finishing tail with the fretless is.
I've got a project. Probably next time I see you, it'll be done. It's a internal transducer that sustains the strings, kind of like an EBow. So,
but it's built in,
but it's polyphonic. So I've been working with Gareth Widdock with AUM guitars.
Yeah.
We're almost done with it. So by the fall, they'll be in here. So that way you can like hold a chord and
Sustainiac type of like, but right then. Oh my God.
Right.
I'm sorry, my brain is going.
And then it's with the synth. I'm a maximalist in a lot of ways. Like when I start plugging in, I'm like, why not this? Why not this?
Well, right.
But I started out playing acoustic, and a lot of it still comes from like just the guitar. What does the guitar sound like?
Yeah.
I started out playing electric, like I play the nylon string. Lots of people are like, well, did you study classical? And like I did. I studied a little bit of classical guitar, but I really started out as like a jazz guitarist.
Yeah.
I just got into fingerstyle, and then I realized classical guitar is the root of fingerstyle.
Right.
There's only playing with the fingers.
So it's like I should learn a little bit about that.
I should learn a lot about that. And I got really interested in flamenco. I went to Spain and studied a little bit of that. And so I realized like finger picking is so huge for solo playing, because when you're playing with the pick, you can do hybrid picking. But it's harder to balance this when you're holding a pick, right? That timbre is always going to be different.
Yeah.
So it's harder to balance like a chord and get like the melody to ring out over the top of it.
Yeah.
And so for solo playing, I'm trying to make it like each string is like balanced, so you hear like.
Yeah.
Like a piano player would do, where you have like the inner voices.
Yeah.
So my influences are like Ted Green, like these fingerstyle players, Lenny Breau, And those guys are really more like taking Bill Evans' piano technique and like, how do we make that on a guitar?
Yeah.
And that's sort of the root of all this, before all this business. It's like, you know, that stuff, you know?
That's dirty, dude. Because it's so clean, and it's not, you're not forcing it out of it. You know, it's that's awesome.
Yeah, so with the live show, like I try not to go too Chick Corea Return Forever synth thing, but I just like that stuff. I put it in a little bit. So my idea is people who are like into Chet Atkins will get something, but I'll give them a little bit of, you know, a little like sitar experience, and you know, it's a little out of my comfort zone. So when people leave a show, they're like, wow, I learned about something, or something I didn't think I would like. Because I like all of that stuff. And I know not everybody has an expansive palette of taste, but I think that there's more in common with different kinds of music in the end. And that's what I'm trying to like show these similarities. You know, like, hey, this is an Indian raga, and it's actually kind of like this Beatles song. You know? There's a way to connect these things that you wouldn't expect.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. That's exciting, because there's no manual, for that. There's no playbook for what you do with that, you know, like in the thing. So it's no matter. That's exciting.
So nylon string, it's not as done here in the U.S. Like people play ukulele, it's nylon string, but when people think nylon string guitar, they think flamenco, like Rodrigo Gabriela. Gypsy Kings, stuff like that. I just think of it as a different timbre that maybe has like more dimensions of color. You know? Like you play a note, and all these different places you have like a lot of like subtle timbre differences. Right. And it's not a rock and roll timbre, but you turn this thing on, and I'm like,
whatever you want, you know.
Yeah. So part of where, and it's weird maybe, but I like using the guitar like almost like an interface to get all these sounds.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
It's been great for studio sessions. I'll be like, I do this.
Yeah, right. I got you. Don't worry. You don't need to call anybody else. It's perfect. Now, getting into the tech side of things, what is it that you're using in conjunction with this
This is a really stripped down setup. So like this 13-pin connector, it's sort of the price of entry. A lot of people are like, I don't want to get a 13-pin thing, but it's pretty cool because you can divide up. Each string can be a different range. You know, you have separate polyphonic output, so that's cool. And the palette of sounds. Like I like playing keyboard, and I like keyboard synthesizer sounds, so I kind of miss that when I'm playing the guitar. Sure. With this, I'm like, oh, now I can just have, like, I want that Lyle Mays, you know. There it is. It's like, you know.
Soap opera soundtrack.
Soap opera. It's hard because some of it's like kind of cheesy, so you have to be like, how do you find that? But then there's some stuff that's like pedal steel. It's like,
the last one was like the scene when they come in and they said, that person's dead, but they're still alive now.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, oops, sorry.
Now, do you use this with the looper or anything like that when you do your full show? I mean, I know this is what you're just touring around with, you know, kind of have something on you, but.
Yeah, I think, so spiritually, philosophically, the looper is both a blessing and a curse. Yes. And, you know, I'll use the looper, and I use it sort of more like home studio style. Sure. But I like playing a lot of different instruments, but I like to have something where you can see how the composition unfolds. Yes. But all these loopers, you're like stuck with like an A-B form as most of it. So finally I found a looper where you can get outside of that. It's so much though. And honestly, it's easy to get distracted and realize I haven't actually worked on like my playing. Yes. And so my advice is try to reduce the amount of gear and focus on how much you can do with like one instrument. Yeah. Because that's the root of it. if that's not there, none of the
Yeah.
other stuff's gonna make any of that better.
For sure. Well, that's everything we got for today and our conversation with Eldon. Thank you for coming in, man, and giving us kind of an inside, scoop on what you kind of got going on with everything. And we look forward to hearing what you come up with and every time you come to visit and from, after your move to Memphis. But make sure you guys check out elderly.com and see if there's anything on there that you like and see the recent arrivals. Thanks.